Hi, welcome to the part 8 of this video series. We are looking at AZ304 important exam questions. Now, if you have seen the previous videos on some other certifications related to Azure or AWS, you must have seen that a lot of people have commented that the chances of same questions or similar questions coming in the exam is pretty high. So please subscribe to my channel. This channel is dedicated to help people clear their Azure and AWS certifications. Please refer parts 1 to 8 or 1 to 7 for questions 1 through 52. Let's jump into the questions. So the story of this question goes this way. There are around 20 subscriptions, 200 resource groups, and whoever is the owner or people having the owner roles, these should be validated by the security admin every month. They should get automated emails every month for this validation. If the security admin validates it and gives an approval, then it gets approved. If the approval is not given in time, maybe like 3 days or 5 days, then those resources are wiped out. And another scenario is if the security admin rejects, then also the resources or the subscriptions will be wiped out. Since we looked at the story, let's scan through the options. So this one, secure score. Now this is your secure score. This is how it looks. Here the score is 57%. That means 34 out of 60 points were matching. So remaining points were not fulfilled. So there is, from a security standpoint, people will need to work on the remaining points. So option A only helps you to meet the security posture. It will not send automated emails or reminders every month for verification. So A is wrong. Now let's look at C. So whenever we talk about a policy, it is a way of uh, kind of creating some sort of conditional routing, like this person can create resources in this group but not in that group, something of that sort. So identity protection, you can create policies to secure your resources, but it is not used to prompt for verification every month. Let's look at, so if you see PIM, it is used to monitor important resource in your organization. What can be these resources? It can be something like Azure AD or some Microsoft online services such as 365, etc. So this is also wrong because it will not fulfill the purpose of the prompting every month. That leaves us with B, access reviews. So one thumb rule you should always remember is whenever you see a question which says that you should get, the system admins should get prompted, or some person should get prompted for validation and verification, it is always access reviews. Blindly you can just look at access reviews and options and mark it as an answer. So if you see the documentation, this one, users access can be reviewed on a regular basis. That is important. This is what we need for the question we have, that says that prompted, the system should prompt every month to perform verification. So this will serve the purpose. Now an example of access review is why in real life companies use it. Suppose there are 100 employees who joined this month in a company, say a company like Infosys or Wipro. So 100 employees join in. How do how does the company ensure that all of these employees have access to all the important resources? For example, when you're onboarding, there are certain set of trainings, online trainings that needs to be accessed. Uh, you need an email access and blah blah blah, so on. So this can be attained through access reviews. Now consider a second scenario where uh, 50 employees, they left the company this month. Okay, you already know attrition happens due to various reasons. Either it's a forced attrition or people leave themselves for better pastures elsewhere. So if that is the case, then also access review is important because it will prompt on a regular basis for validation and verification. And when the verification is done by the uh, administrators, what usually happens is administrators validate it, and administrators before validation they need uh, your recommendations from the manager of that resource. So the manager gets an email, and on some system they have to approve it, or they have to revoke the access. And then when they mark it, the security administrator will revoke this access for these 50 employees who have resigned the organization. So this is the right answer. Let's move to the next question. So here, very short question. So you need to recommend a solution to ensure that app one can read and modify access reviews. So you have an app and you want this app to be able to read and modify access reviews. For example, it can say following people should be able to or should have read access, and the following other people should have um, modification access. So whenever you see a question related to ensuring that some sort of access is given, you should think about Active Directory. So out of these options, only these two are relevant because A and D are talking about API management services, and it is nowhere linked to our question. So this is a thumb rule we use. First, try to eliminate the uh, answers or options that seem silly or that seem totally non-related. So now out of B and C, which one should we choose? So C is the right answer, even though the question doesn't talk about graph, but uh, you know you have to use the delegate permission. You do not have an IAM blade when you go to the admin center. You do not have an IAM blade. You have to do a delegate permission, and since you have to do a delegate permission, and that is the only option where it says Graph API, we should go ahead with it. So let's lock this answer and move forward. So let's scan option A. So one thing that is significant about this question is, see, there are too many requirements here. If you see, there are too many requirements here. Too many requirements means too many rules. Okay, and when you see too many rules, so if you see the first rule, it says evaluation must be repeated automatically every 3 months. So this is a feature of access review. Access review does that, but so many other things, access review is not a best option. You should go with a membership type to dynamic user. This is well suited to you know do or implement so many rules. If you see here, these rules needs to be applied on group 1, which has 50 members and 20 guest users. So if you see this documentation here, you can create complex attribute based rules. So we have so many rules, you can create this complex attribute based rules. And when any attributes of a user changes, the system evaluates all dynamic group rules. So based on one change, The system will automatically evaluate whether the impact of change will happen or not, so that you cannot gain it from excessive use. So for me, A is the answer, but let's look at other options. So I have clearly established D is not an answer because I compared D with A and showed you why A is the best fit here. Now, between B and C now, if you see privileged identity management, it is used to secure or make the resources more secure. The resources can be anything, maybe Office 365 or something of that sort, to make it secure. So identity protection, if you see B, what does it mean? So it means it is trying to protect identities. So if someone who is not having a proper identity and trying to hack the system, it will identify the risks and it will say that this looks to be a potential threat, this looks to be a potential hacker, and so on. So it's a very different purpose, not related to the question being asked here. Hence, we will lock this answer and move forward. See, we need to understand the story here first. So, there is a organization and it has two divisions in East and West. Suppose in India, so East is maybe Assam and West maybe Gujarat. So, a company has two divisions, Assam and Gujarat, East and West, and they have these tenants. East, it has eastcontoso.com, and West, they have westcontoso.com. So what it's saying is sub one, this contains a web app, okay, and this app name is app one, and it uses whatever Microsoft platform for user authority. That is not important. So this sub one, it has an app one, and now all users from this East console can access authenticate this app. There's an app here, and all users can authenticate this app. So now, for example, East Assam people can access this application app one. Now you want people from Gujarat division to also access this app. So people from Gujarat division, if you want to access this app, who are these people? These are guests. So you should do it through guest accounts. You will not do a app registration there for these guys because these guys are not from the same division. They need to have guest tenants. Now, that's why C seems correct and D is wrong. Now, between A and B, if you see A conditional access policy, you do not need a conditional access policy here. So, why do we create conditional access? Is suppose you have a rule where you say that if the like Netflix Netflix servers in US suppose and on cloud in the US region. And suppose there is a policy which states that if the users are accessing from Afghanistan, then you need to block certain contents or you need to give limited access. If people are watching from Iran, you need to block the access, some conditional access. And if people are accessing from UK, you need to provide full access. Okay, because UK is a friend of US, and there can be similar policies. For such purposes, you use conditional access. Here, you don't need conditional access because whatever access to the app the people in Assam have, the people in Gujarat will also have the same access. So you don't need conditional access. And pass-through authentication. See, purpose of pass-through is very different. Suppose you have a credential and you have cloud and you have on-premises, and you want to access cloud resources, Azure resources also using same credentials, and on-premises resource also using same credentials. So then you can use pass-through authentication. So here there is no need for a pass-through because it is not about accessing on-prem and Azure resources. It is about accessing an app which is meant for East Zone. So you want to access it. So guest account is the right answer. So please subscribe to my channel. This brings us to the end of part 8 of this video series. We'll see you in the next part.